Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Let's touch upon William Blake and a few poems from his collection entitled Songs of Innocence and Experience. Remember that Romanticism, the best way to think about it, is that the R in Romanticism stands for revolution. So we're looking primarily here in our course, World Lit, that we're concerned about revolution in writing, which of course is influenced by society, thought, right? All these different things we can see reflected in literature. And the first thing you should notice as we move away from the Enlightenment into this new period is that all of the forms that we saw before that we had to follow regarding structure, right? Gone. All those are gone. We feel a new freedom in verse with the Romantics. The heroic couplet, gone. Having the words follow a strict, orderly pattern, rhyme scheme, pentameter, all those rules are gone. Poem might rhyme, like we see with the lamb, or there might be discordant, jarring rhyme, like we see with the tiger, right? So there's freedom, don't really have to worry about form. We can create our own form in Romanticism. Now, William Blake was not only a writer, he was also an artist. You might have seen some works of William Blake without really knowing who William Blake is. And the work that he's primarily known for today is the collection Songs of Innocence and Experience. These poems were published separately in two separate volumes, and then later they were combined into one. And what we see here is innocence and experience primarily taking the form of childhood, adulthood. This is a theme that we can kind of trace through several of our different romantic poets. So how do we see this in the lamb? Well, if we think about the image of the lamb, it really calls to mind childhood, right? Simplicity. When you think about lamb, right, you think about many different things. The bucolic setting of a farm, peace and quiet. Here we have a meadow, right? What else about a lamb? Well, it's white, right? It suggests purity that we also associate with childhood. What else do we think about when we hear lamb? Perhaps you might call to mind, behold the Lamb of God, right? So the lamb here is clearly representative of Jesus Christ. So we have all of these different images, all of these different allusions, symbols coming together in this figure of the lamb. Now, notice as you read through the lamb that we have questions being asked, and when we have those questions being asked, they're being answered. Also, innocence, childhood. There's answers to our questions in life. But when we get to the tiger, notice we're still questioning, we still have questions, but they're not answered, right? And that happens in adulthood. As we age and we mature, we realize that there's different aspects of life that are unexplained. We can ask the question, but we don't necessarily get an answer. Also notice with the tiger, right, it's kind of the matching piece for the lamb. So when we think about tiger, right, it's an aggressive animal, very furtive, right, lies in wait and then leaps out and captures its prey. Also, in the tiger, as you go through and you read it, excuse me, it's a very percussive poem. One thing that I'm always surprised about is that a heavy metal band hasn't done a cover of the tiger. It would make a really great heavy metal song. Because there's the anvil and the chain, right? Notice the images here of the Industrial Revolution contrasting to the country life that we had in The Lamb, right? Those are two really, really good comparison poems. Also, The Chimney Sweeper. A sad part about life during this time in London, right? We have coal being the primary source for heating homes. And of course, all of the coal smoke would create soot in the chimneys. And what better to clean out a narrow, confined space than a child? So, what would happen is that children would be sold to chimney sweepers, and then the little kids would walk up and down the streets of London calling out, "Sweep, sweep, sweep," letting people know that they're a chimney sweeper, and then they would be lowered down into the chimney. Oftentimes, the child would be caught up in the chimney. Sometimes they would even die in the chimney or fall and break an arm or a leg. And then the chimney sweeper would just go out and buy some more children. Yeah, really sad fact. So what do we see in the chimney sweeper? Notice the weep, 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 right, is representative of a child having a lisp for sweep, right? And also at the same time, it's calling forth the sound of crying, right? That child going throughout his or her very brief, sad life, doing really harsh manual labor. Also, notice in these two comparison poems for the chimney sweeper that sense of loss that we have, consolation. Also, we can make a connection between the chimney sweeper poem and the lamb with the idea of redemption, consolation with through death, and redemption, resurrection through the figure of Jesus. So with these few poems from Songs of Innocence and Experience, we can get a taste of the revolutions that are starting to happen in literature with Romanticism. So a brief little snapshot here, the poems from William Blake with his representative work, Songs of Innocence and Experience. So I hope you enjoy reading as we continue to move forth into Romanticism. So until we meet again, be well, do good work, and keep in touch.